Hey everybody, this is Rodney Watson. This is Politics 205, Alabama's voice of reason. I'm also a candidate for the District 3 County Commission seat in Jefferson County. I'm running against Jimmy Stevens. I prepared some little notes here today for me, and I know some of you's probably been watching me on Facebook, and I've had a little issue with Facebook. I've been kicked off there 3 times. A couple of times I was probably not following the guidelines. I'm supposed to have my own page for just politics, but the last post I put up, I didn't have anything on it about politics. As far as me running as a candidate, I was addressing a position of mine, and it was going to be my last one to address because it's had a lot of controversy on there. And then I was going to get the other page, and then somebody reported me and they kicked me off, and I really couldn't understand why with that particular one. The other ones, I probably was violating Facebook's rules. And what Facebook does, I just started using Facebook during this campaign. I know very little about it. It's been, 3 months, I guess. I mean, I've had other Facebook accounts, but I never did use them, and they were set up by other associations, business associations, and they required you to have a page. And it was a real estate company that I was associated with, and they required you to have a page, but I never did use it correctly. And it doesn't matter what real estate company, because they haven't endorsed me, and there's no sense in me getting them involved in people's opinion of them or whatever. I'm just leave them out of it. And I say it that way if you're just now coming to Politics 205 and this is your first time. I've had a lot of controversy around this election, but I do want to address something that was come up to me over the weekend. And there's a belief out there that I'm against UAB and that I'm against UAB football because I've made a stand against this stadium. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm against the stadium, not against UAB football, not against UAB. You would have to have something a little bit wrong with you to be against UAB. UAB is vitally important to Birmingham. I just want to make sure that Birmingham is important to UAB. And I'm sure UAB is going to be around Birmingham long after I'm gone, but Birmingham is losing its relevancy to everybody, and people are leaving Birmingham and Jefferson County, and any business, even like UAB and the services they provide, healthcare, they'll have to follow the migration of people, and we don't need people leaving Jefferson County. And the issues that's causing people to leave Jefferson County has nothing to do with the stadium, nothing to do with the stadium. So there's no way a stadium can solve the problem. We've got to support UAB. I want to see UAB have a good football team, but we also have to take care of the crime and the high poverty rate and the high sewer rates. They're here, and there are going to be increases coming, and nothing about this stadium, this financing this stadium, takes care of any of those 3 things and more things. And it's those 3 things and the more things why people have left Jefferson County. So let me get into some of this. Some of this is I'm gonna read it to you, and it just reiterates what I just said. So just bear with me, and maybe we'll get through this, and then I'll do some follow up at the end. It's gonna be a little lengthy. Just bear with me. Alright, I'm Rodney Watson. This is Politics 205. I'm a candidate for District 3 County Commission seat in Jefferson County. The primary for this election will be held June 5th, 2018. I'm a Republican. Jimmy's a Republican. I have to beat him in the Republican primary June 5th. Whoever makes it in the June 5th primary, as far as the Republicans are concerned, will probably be the county commissioner, because as of right now, there's not a Democrat running or independent. I will tell you this, up until June 5th, you're not happy with the candidates, if you're not happy with me, or you're not happy with Jimmy Stevens, you can have an independent run. You have to have, I think it's 20,000 votes. 20,000 voters sign a petition out of your district from the last gubernatorial race, the last governor's race. I think I said that right. It's confusing to me. It's 20,000 people out of your district that voted in the last governor's race has to put your name on a petition. Is the best that I understand it. And you can put an independent up. And I'm for as many candidates as possible. But as of right now, it's just me and Jimmy. That's the point I'm trying to make. And I have to beat him June 5th, or he has to beat me. I'm running against Jimmy Stevens. He's a longtime politician from the Bessemer area, and he has 2 terms in as county commissioner. I'm running against him primarily because of the things that I have witnessed in District 3 that seem completely unreasonable. It started out with extreme high levels of litter, the illegal dumps that never seem to get corrected, and just a general disregard for us, those of us living in District 3. Mayors all around District 3 are not happy with the support they are not the support they are not getting from Jimmy Stevens. Jimmy Stevens has a hard time supporting our mayors, and Jimmy Stevens has a hard time just telling the hard truth to some of these mayors. He'll sort of give them a nod and a wink, and he'll say, tell them something they want to hear, and then they never hear from him again. He's done me that way. I'm not just going to sit here and some people say I'm bashing Jimmy. I'm not bashing Jimmy. I'm telling the truth about Jimmy. And these are the reasons I'm running. I'm telling you why I'm running. I'm not running because I'm happy. I'm not running because I've had a good experience with Jimmy. I'm running because of the litter, the illegal dumps, and when I've called about them, I feel like I get to run around. I'm not happy. That's why I'm running. But I had no idea how bad things were until I got into this race. I started out with the litter and the illegal dumps and the economic situation in District 3 that is nowhere near as strong as it was 20 years ago. District 3 has went downhill in the last 20 years. Now Jimmy's been in there 8 years. We went through a bankruptcy, and we went through a lot of stuff that Jimmy didn't have anything to do with. But if we don't get it turned around, we're going to have a situation where it's not going to be good to live here. I live in Pleasant Grove. I think we had 300 lots destroyed in that tornado. 100, I said we had 300 houses. That left 300 lots. 100 houses rebuilt or fixed, repaired their houses. I think we still have about 200 lots available in Pleasant Grove. Developed lots. Gas, water, and electricity on these lots in Pleasant Grove, Alabama, where we have a 2-minute response time for police and fire, and we have low crime, and we have a relatively high income for the area, but we still have 200 lots available that people didn't build back on. Why? It's not because of Pleasant Grove. It's not because of our mayor and council. It's because this particular city is in Jefferson County, and it's in District 3 that's being neglected. Our mayor and council has done all they could. Now I've told them down there that they need to look at changing up some zoning to try to attract some people in here and give them a lifestyle that they're not getting somewhere else. And those are some things that, as a county commissioner, I'm going to try to work with all the mayors to let's look at all the zoning and let's see what we can do in spite of the rest of the county, or in spite of Birmingham, or in spite of the state of Alabama, what we can do to cause District 3 and the cities here to be attractive places for people to decide to live. But we have 200 lots that people haven't built back on. Alright. Like I say, the economy's not as good in District 3 as it was 20 years ago. People's working, but our property values have fallen and they haven't come back. Alright, along with what I knew, I found out about $300,000+ wasted on a ballpark in McCalla that Jimmy Stevens has been credited with acquiring the county funds for. The citizens of McCalla deserve a ballpark. And I know there was an ethics law that got in the way of Jimmy being able to help raise some funding. Alright, it was an ethics situation where, best I understand, a county commissioner or elected official cannot solicit donations from industries that have lobbyists. And they was looking for donations from big corporations to help build this ballpark, and those corporations were associated with lobbyists. And it's kind of a situation in Alabama. It's got unintended consequences, the best I understand. And I looked into this McCalla ballpark, and let me tell you, there's some people that's involved in this ballpark that were some good people. I know one of them personally. They don't come no better. But with this being said, the citizens of McCalla deserve a ball field. And let me say this, it is not unethical for the citizens of McCalla to have a ballpark, and Jimmy Stevens should look for legal remedies to help get McCalla a ballpark, even if it means finding another location. They should take an active role in helping to get that community a ballpark. The county's already put $300,000 plus in it. They don't have a ballpark. That's offensive to me, and I don't even live down there. They don't even have one field to play on. It was brought up last week on Facebook. The people just want a ballpark. Find a legal remedy to getting them a ballpark. If it means getting down there and organizing a group down there and finding people down there that can solicit donors. If you have to get away from this nonprofit that's doing this one, find another location, get these people a ballpark. Let me see here. Jimmy Stevens should look for legal remedies to help get McCalla a ballpark, even if it means finding another location. You can't just hit a roadblock and stop and be commissioner that gets things done. A District 3 commissioner has got to be a fighter for District 3 because of the politics in Jefferson County. I said this from the beginning. Y'all, when I got into this, and if y'all was watching when I announced my candidacy for this seat, I said it was going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight every day at Jefferson County for District 3. District 3 has always been neglected. It's not unbelievable that it's District 3 people that couldn't get a ballpark finished. It's not unbelievable that it's District 3 people that has a horrendous litter problem and illegal dump problem. They've been doing things like this to District 3 for years, or allowing it to happen. There's a storm shelter that went bankrupt. The builder went bankrupt and they couldn't get it finished in time. I think I've got it mentioned in here. Now there's other storm shelters that have gotten finished. And we get a few things. And there's a lot of districts that's got litter problems. But District 3 over the years, we've caught the blunt end of whatever else the rest of the county wanted to put off on us. Those of us that live here, we know the way District 3 has been treated. And we also know that District 3, in years past, has been the productive district. We had the coal mines. The steel mill is not necessarily in District 3, but it's right on the edge. Our people built the steel industry. Our people in District 3 was the employees and the managers of the plants in Birmingham that built Birmingham. But we've always gotten the landfills. We've always gotten what everybody else didn't want. And I mean, when I first got in this, you know, I'm pretty upset about it because even up to 2 days ago, I was pretty upset, still getting mad about it. But I found out something the last couple of days, and I'm not so mad. I'm tired of it, and I'm going to address it. And I'm telling you, when I told y'all it's going to be a fight, it's going to be a fight every day up there for District 3. And I'm going to explain it to you. But Jimmy's just not a fighter. Jimmy gives in to these people. I said this from the beginning. We're going to have to fight every day for District 3. Then I found out about the storm shelter in Concord. Another situation that has left the citizens vulnerable to tornadoes for too many seasons. I understand the contractor went bankrupt, but hey, the county has attorneys. They can work through some of this. The county had the power to expedite this, but again, no leadership on this. I've seen private development have a contractor go bankrupt, and they don't lose near the time that the county lost on that storm shelter down there. That doesn't make sense. The county has attorneys to get people back to work on that. They just drug their feet on it. The lack of leadership on it. The complete disregard for that storm shelter. I didn't even mention in here about the situation about the Concord School storm shelter that was sold to the citizens down there as when the school was going to be built, that the citizens could use the school as a storm shelter, and then after it's built, come to find out that that wasn't true. People showed up over there one time and it wasn't open. And the principal down there opened it up one time and had a nightmare trying to keep people under control. And that's another situation that I spoke about, how we're going to have to put in a new policy about opening these storm shelters after what that principal went through down there. And then after that, I'm jumping around here, a lot of people know about it, but that principal and fire chief down there opens that storm shelter up at the school. And they had a meeting about it, trying to make a policy, and supposed to have Jimmy show up. And Jimmy didn't even show up for it. But it was the Roads and Transportation, and Jimmy's over that sold it to the citizens down there as being a storm shelter. And it never was even meant to be a storm shelter. Another example of what Jimmy does. He just says something to sort of appease you, and it hasn't even got any validity to it. He can't back it up later, and then he don't show up for the meeting. That's fact. That's not me bashing him. That's what he does. No leadership on this. About the storm shelter. There's no fighting Jimmy, and being that we all know that District 3 has had to fight for everything we get, we need a fighter, and Jimmy has just let happen to us whatever happens. That's the number one thing I found out in the last 2 days. Jimmy just about lays down and throws his feet up. It's over with. I mean, he just ain't going to fight. Until it comes down to election time. Oh, and then he'll jump up and down and make videos about a storm shelter. He'll get some people out picking up a little bit of trash and brag on what the volunteers do. And the volunteers, there's no way you could depend on volunteers to take care of your litter issue as an ongoing plan. You got to stop people from throwing it out. That's going to take getting with the sheriff's department, writing some tickets. That's going to take increasing the fines on litter. That's going to take putting some litter cams out. Everything I want to do. You just can't just lay down, throw your feet up, and say, well, we can't do nothing about the litter. Y'all volunteer to go pick it up. That's not an ongoing plan. The same thing about the illegal dumps. I've addressed it, and people say, well, the sheriff's department can't write tickets. They don't have enough people. We can't do anything about it. We just lay down and throw our feet up about it. And we got piles of illegal dumps all over the county. All over District 3 for sure. I've taken pictures of them. But we just lay down and throw our feet up. But I just left Louisiana down there. Nothing like what we have. Nothing. They have a $3,000 maximum fine for litter and community service posted right there on the sign. I've got a video of it. I'm going to try to put some of that on here too. You can't just lay down and throw your feet up and just let things happen. Especially in District 3, because they'll do it to District 3. Always have. Alright, our cities in District 3 have had to fight Jimmy to get playground equipment. I know of a mayor that had to threaten Jimmy about some playground equipment that was close to his park in his city. And it was over at a school that had been shut down, the best I understand the playground equipment was. And it was just out in the weather, wasn't being used. And this mayor that had a city real close to this old elementary school got in touch with Jimmy and said he wanted that equipment. And it was right there, and probably the kids that was in his community went to that elementary school. I don't know that. I'm pretty sure because, I mean, they're just right next door to each other. Well, Jimmy told him that playground equipment's going to another place across District 3 at the other end. Well, this mayor had to threaten to get the news out there and make an issue about it. Well, he ended up getting the playground equipment. That mayor's a fighter. But he shouldn't have to fight his county commissioner. Jimmy should have said, well, absolutely, it only makes sense that your kids get it. It's right there next to you. It's right there next to you. It was probably your kid that was playing on it. But it had to be a controversy with him. Unbelievable. And then we have the stadium. And this stadium deal that I'm fixing to get into has been misconstrued on me, saying I'm against UAB or I'm against the football program. Now, I'm not a big sports fan, but I'm not against UAB football any more than I'd be against Alabama or Auburn. But there's been some things told about football in general that's just not true. And it was all told to sell this stadium to Birmingham, which went in dead on it. And then Jimmy should have seen this. All the commissioners should have seen it. And the problem in Birmingham is not a stadium. The reason people are leaving Birmingham and Jefferson County is not a stadium. It's the crime, it's the overtaxation, it's the high sewer rates, it's the dysfunctional government. It's not the lack of a stadium. People are moving to areas that don't have stadiums. We're going to get into that. But from here on, it's kind of defending this. What I'm saying is going to be defending my position on the stadium. But I'm not against UAB or the football. That would be dumb. That would be dumb. I'm against this stadium. And we're going to get it. But we're probably not going to get the other issues taken care of. And I got some articles here to show you that this has been an ongoing problem with Birmingham. They've had chances to turn it around in Birmingham. And our county's had chances to turn it around, and they're doing nothing about it. And that's what I want to do as your county commissioner. Address the real problems in Jefferson County and attack them and correct those. Get some people moving in here, and then we can move forward. The new stadium in Birmingham is the worst of Jimmy's lack of leadership. He went along with the plan that was voted down 25 years ago called MAPS. If you remember, MAPS, I think it was 25 years ago, was put up for a vote. And it included a stadium, a new civic center, rebuilding the BJCC, and a bunch of development. And the voters of Jefferson County turned it down. So we don't want that. It was going to raise a tax, and it was basically over the same issues that we're talking about today that still exist in Birmingham. Nothing's changed. Jimmy was around during that time. Jimmy remembers us voting it down. Jimmy remembers the citizens of Jefferson County voting down what they're doing today. But Jimmy went along with giving $1 million a year for 30 years, irregardless of what the voter of Jefferson County said 20 years ago. And Jimmy told me this. I asked him about this stadium before they voted on it. He said, well, we've got some good numbers on it. I asked him that down here I had a meeting over here in West Jefferson. He was there, and I asked him about it. He said, we've got some good numbers on it, suggesting that there was a feasibility study or some kind of study done. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's impossible for them to have good numbers on it. Now, anybody knows anything about a feasibility study, you can get a feasibility study to say whatever you want it to say. The citizens of Gardendale had a feasibility study on their school system. That the feasibility study said, yes, feasible, y'all can do it. And Gardendale raised a tax, created a school board, and the federal courts had stopped them from having a school board. The feasibility study said it'll work. The courts say it won't. If you look into that, you'll see where there's a big controversy over Jefferson County School and compensation for the taxpayer and another mess up there. But they had a feasibility study done. And the thing about a feasibility study, it ain't nothing, it's worthless, except they have to have it to justify what they're doing, to make it politically defensible. They can always say, like Jimmy told me, well, I had good numbers on it. They're not ever going to say, yeah, we knew it was a crock. They're going to say, well, we had good numbers on it. That's his defense. We had good numbers on it. That's what the politicians in Gardendale is going to say. Well, we had a feasibility study done. We're not responsible. And that's really what you have going on in government in Jefferson County, a bunch of irresponsible people. And they're just looking for a way out instead of taking responsibility for it. And I'm going to say this, as that mayor in Huntsville and that county commissioner in Huntsville did that brought Toyota Mazda to Huntsville. See, we got Mercedes in here over 20 years ago because people took responsibility for that. That come down there in Tuscaloosa. But it took people taking responsibility for that. Politicians taking responsibility for that and making it happen. They had to take responsibility up here in Huntsville to get this Toyota Mazda in here. But the people in Birmingham and Jefferson County, they don't take responsibility for nothing. And that's why your county's looking the way it is. And your people's moving to areas where the people and the politicians and their leaders have taken responsibility for their communities. Alright, the feasibility study just made it defensible. Politically defensible. But there's no defense in it, and I'm going to show you some stuff here that anybody can look it up. Like I say now, I'm not against UAB. That'd be stupid to be from Birmingham and be against UAB. And I'm not against UAB football. I'm neutral on it because football's just not my thing. I'm not a big football fan. I'm not against it. I'm just not for it. It's not a big part of my life. And I want to tell that up front. But I do want to see UAB have a successful team. I want to see UAB successful at everything they do. They are successful as a hospital. We know that. They are successful at what they do. Birmingham wouldn't be the same without UAB. But UAB is probably going to be the same without Birmingham. That's the key to this. UAB's building a new facility in Hoover. It's going to be bringing in some housing. UAB builds all over. But UAB and anybody else in Birmingham is going to have to go to where the people's moving. Now, Birmingham's going to probably be around until I'm dead and gone. But it may not be worth living around. It's about to get that point anyway. And that's what I want to push back against. Jefferson County, people's leaving here for a reason. Alright, I'm not against UAB. I'm not against UAB football. I do care about a functional government. And I'm big on this right here. I do care about government staying within its roles and staying out of the private sector. In rare situations, do governments succeed at competing with the private sector? Government's number one role is to protect its citizens, create a peaceful and productive environment for economic activity, and then to relieve the suffering of its least, meaning its least citizens. Alright, if we take the city of Birmingham, and we agree, most of us would, that government's number one role is to protect its citizens. Birmingham's not doing a good job at it. Birmingham has had one of the highest murder rates in the country. It always has. I don't know about always, but in the last several years, it's had the highest murder rate. Alright? So, Birmingham has failed at doing one of its number one roles, protecting its citizens. Create a peaceful and productive environment for economic activity. Birmingham has a high poverty rate among its citizens. Has a high poverty rate. Business has left Birmingham. Business isn't flocking into Birmingham. Business has left Birmingham. So they haven't produced a peaceful and productive environment for economic activity, and then to relieve the suffering of its least. I can take you all over Ainsley, Edgewater, and show you where people are suffering. They don't have adequate housing. And the way to correct some of this is bring in some jobs that pay above the poverty rate, significantly above the poverty rate. It says, and Birmingham has failed along with Jefferson County. The proof is in all the citizens that choose to leave this county and live elsewhere. An extreme example is citizens leaving a war-torn country to live as refugees in another. An extreme example of this, and like I want you to drive home the point about this, is the example that a particular area is not doing very well toward its citizens is the proof of it is they're leaving. People are leaving that area going to another one. An extreme example, so to make a good understanding, is people leaving a war-torn country to go live in another country as refugees in tents. They're not living great, but they're not dying in that war-torn country. Well, we're not in a war-torn area in Jefferson County, but people have left us to go to better places to live. That gives them what they want. And that's all I have to say about it. We're not competing for a good lifestyle here in Jefferson County. It's not productive for people. Productive people are leaving Jefferson County. And there's a lot of people still planning on leaving when they retire. They're getting out of here. That's all you got to know about it. And I want to push back against that and make Birmingham or Jefferson County, and in particular District 3, a place that people want to come to. Some of that's going to be working on some zoning ordinances and some laws and some of our business activities that's not really business friendly. Anytime you have people leaving an area to go somewhere else, it speaks volumes about the place they are leaving. So now let's discuss the stadium and why I am against it. The stadium, not UAB. All right. Let's go through some economics about stadiums first. This article comes from I think this is the St. Louis Fed put this out. Federal Reserve Bank. Alright. He's a sports economist. It's the economics of subsidizing sports stadiums. And Birmingham is subsidizing this stadium in downtown. Alright. Robert Bade, a sports economist, his topic is the idea that sports is a catalyst for economic development just doesn't hold water. Like I say, this is from the St. Louis Federal Reserve. I'm trying to find where it said that at. Alright, we'll get into it. It's all about spending, it says. Proponents, that's people that's for it, say that subsidizing sports stadiums is justified because of the economic impact it will have on the community. First, sports stadiums are huge construction projects. In fact, they are often compared to cathedrals in their attempt to dominate the skyline and inspire civic pride. Although construction jobs eventually disappear once a stadium is built, once the games begin, so does consumer spending. It says fans who attend games also pay for parking, eat in restaurants, and buy food and drink at the ballpark. And that spending generates revenue and jobs for the local community. And those parking attendants, restaurant workers, and stadium workers spend their earnings. The money circulates again through the economy. Economists call this the multiplier effect, whereby $1 of spending by consumers, business, or government creates more than $1 in economic activity. The estimated economic activity of those millions of people who attended St. Louis Cardinals home games in 2015 was $343.9 million. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it? I'm going to stop right there. That's $343.9 million of economic activity. The Toyota Mazda plant in Huntsville, I think, is a $1.6 billion plant. It's going to cost. And then they're going to sell cars every year, manufacture the cars. $300 million is peanuts compared to what one car plant does. But Jefferson County's focus and Jimmy Stevens' focus was on a stadium. That's $1 million a year for 30 years that Jimmy put into this stadium that we can't put toward true economic development. That would really make a difference. The potential new stadium also holds the promise of new development taking root nearby. Such development might include new restaurants and bars as well as condominiums and office space. As interest in the area grows, the value of existing commercial and residential property is likely to improve. In a similar vein, stadium construction can be proposed as an economic development initiative by choosing to build in a blighted or undeveloped area. The hope is that the new economic activity and increased traffic will lead to revitalization of that area. In addition, all the extra spending and income gets taxed when it is spent and earned and respent again. The tax revenue then offsets at the least some of the cost of the subsidy. That's what proponents say. If you build this stadium, you're going to get a big construction boom, and then you're going to get all this spending from these restaurants and all this that comes in. That's how they sell it. And of course they're going to put it in a blighted area and turn that place around. Well, the economist view is this. You know, that was the pro. That's what they sell it on. That's what this stadium's been sold on. It's going to change the region. The economist view, in spite of all these economic arguments, economists generally oppose subsidizing sports stadiums. When surveyed, 86% of economists agree that local and state governments in the U.S. should eliminate subsidies to sports. Perhaps economists just do not like sports. Actually, many economists love professional sports, including former Federal Reserve Chair Ben Bernanke, an ardent Washington Nationals fan. Rather, it is the provision of taxpayer money in the form of subsidies that economists generally oppose. They oppose the subsidy. Alright? In 2017 poll, 83% of the economists surveyed agreed that providing state and local subsidies to build stadiums for sports teams is likely to cost the relevant taxpayers more than any local economic benefits that are guaranteed. In other words, it's going to cost the citizens more than any economic benefits. It says in their book, Sports, Jobs, and Taxes, Roger Noll and Andrew Zimbalist present a comprehensive review of stadium investments. In all cases, they find a new sports facility to have extremely small or negative effects on overall economic activity and employment. Furthermore, they were unable to find any facilities that had a reasonable return on investment. Sports economist Michael Lee suggests that sports have very little economic impact. With 81 regular season home games per year, has about the same impact. In other words, this was a baseball field they're talking about. It says the baseball park and the games they have, the 81 regular season home games, has about the same impact on a community as a mid-sized department store. His research suggests that if every sports team in Chicago, it's got the Cubs, White Sox, Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, were to suddenly disappear, the economic impact on Chicago would be a fraction of 1%. If you got rid of all those teams, it would be a fraction of 1%. In their critique, most economists highlight an important pitfall when considering the economic impact of stadiums: the failure to include the opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is what you could have done with the money. And when you spend it over here, you could have spent it over there and got a bigger bang for your buck. The opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative when a decision is made. It is what is given up in the case of sports stadiums, both seen and unseen. Economic activity should be considered. The unseen spending, however, tends to be overlooked. Consumer spending at sports stadiums is easy to see. It is obvious and measurable. What is unseen, however, is how consumers would spend their dollars otherwise. That's where it's wrong for the government to subsidize anything and try to compete with the private sector. These people that's going to be at this stadium, they go downtown and spend their money at the stadium. They're not going to be spending it at an entrepreneur's restaurant that night. They're not going to be spending it at the mall where an entrepreneur has got a store trying to sell something. They're not going to be spending it at another show in town. Another form of entertainment that's not subsidized by the government. But yet all these private investors and entrepreneurs, they pay taxes that actually went to build a competitive interest for themselves. That's where it's wrong. What is unseen, however, is how consumers would spend their money, spend their dollars otherwise. If they were not spending on sports events, they would instead spend on museums, movies, concerts, theater, restaurants, and so on. Because consumers tend to have limited entertainment budgets, dollars spent at a new stadium would not be new spending, but rather diverted spending. The only argument I'd make against that is if you've got new people coming in, and we don't have it. You're not bringing any new money into Jefferson County with this stadium, and particularly Birmingham. You're just churning money, and you're just taking it from where would have went to Cracker Barrel that weekend, or maybe I don't know, Red Lobster or the movie house. You're just giving it to the stadium, and you're just rediverting money. And it's the government should not be competing with the private sector. in that aspect. It's wrong. And really, entrepreneurs ought to be just fuming mad about this. Taxpayer money to subsidize a stadium also has opportunity cost. And an economist might ask, of all the things my city could do with $500 million, is a sports stadium subsidy my best option? Government can choose to spend taxpayer money on a variety of things: roads, bridges, airports, police, education, environmental improvements, parks, and walking paths, just to name a few, all of which have benefits for society. Economists often suggest options that increase productivity and see this spending as investment. For example, government spending on infrastructure could increase productivity because it reduces the cost in time and money of transporting goods and people from one place to another. Second, spending on education is seen as a form of human capital investment. Human capital is the knowledge and skills that people obtain through education, experience, and training. The education that students receive in school and college and further training and work experience increases their productivity. Economists prefer these types of investment because increased productivity has the potential to increase the rate of economic growth and increase the standard of living. That's something that you're not understanding downtown, these council members, and Jimmy Stevens evidently doesn't understand or doesn't care. The economy is not grown by just turning dollars over or just dumping money into it. The economy is grown and economic activity gets better and the standard of living is raised by increasing production, bringing more products into the community. There's a big part of studying economics, and so many people miss it. But when you get paid from your job, I mean, you're getting a dollar amount. But that dollar amount actually reflects back into society and the marketplace as groceries, housing, transportation, entertainment. There's a certain amount. I told my son this last week when we was on a job in Louisiana. We made 2 welds that night on a 4-inch tube. And we was getting a premium pay that night. It was on a Sunday and we was getting double time. And we got paid a good wage that day. And I got to the end of the day there and I told my son, I said, son, let me show you something. I said, we worked all day, and I'm not going to tell you how much we made, but I said, we worked all day and there's a dollar amount that me and you're going to get paid for this day. I said, but that dollar amount that we get paid has to transfer to the powerhouse in kilowatts that they get to sell. That's the product they sell. And the only reason I tell my son this, I want him to have a complete understanding of what's going on when he works for somebody or he works for himself. There's an end product that has to be sold to cover everybody that gets paid. And I put down a Rodney and Dustin equals 2 4-inch welds, made like a formula. Then I put equals so many kilowatts worth of whatever that they said. I don't know how many kilowatts that would break down. That wasn't the direct part of making the electricity, but those 2 jobs we did that night was part of selling kilowatts of electricity. That's what we sell ultimately. And I wanted my son to see that the ultimate product was kilowatts for that plant, and that's how we got paid. And then those particular amount of kilowatts turns into dollars. Of course, the citizen out here has to be paying to be able to pay the electrical bill. You have to understand this. It's not just about churning dollars. From a government standpoint, it should be about making the whole community more productive. And when you get everybody productive in a society, or most people, you get your poverty rate down. This is the economic situation in Birmingham and in Jefferson County. That's why people are leaving. And the economics of Birmingham is being hindered by high crime, high sewer rates, and a high poverty rate. It's an unproductive county and city in Birmingham. Alright? Alright. It says, economists prefer these types of investment, talking about putting roads, schools, police, airports, bridges, roads, environmental improvements, parks, and walking paths. It just makes everything more productive. It says, economists prefer these types of investment. I just read that because these increase productivity has the potential to increase the rate of economic growth and increase the standard of living. It's about getting the standard of living up. And the standard of living has fallen in Birmingham. Alright? Tell you why I'm against this stadium. We'll take that off. This finishes up. It says building sports stadiums has an impact on local economies. For that reason, many people support the use of government subsidies to help pay for stadiums. However, economists generally oppose such subsidies. They often stress the estimations of the economic impact of sports stadiums are exaggerated because they fail to recognize the opportunity cost. Consumers who spend money on sporting events would likely spend the money on other forms of entertainment which has a similar economic impact. And they don't have to use government money to do it. The private sector already has entertainment opportunities out here, and the government doesn't have to go in debt on it. And you're just rediverting it. We're talking about economic development now, and that's how this stadium was sold. You got to take UAB out of it and UAB football out of it. We're talking about this stadium in Birmingham, borrowing $90 million, and Jefferson County putting $1 million a year in it for 30 years in economic development. And they're just, they're going to kill local economic development elsewhere. Whatever economic development they get from the stadium, it's not anything new. They just rediverted it. And they went in debt to do it, and they got taxpayers to fund it. They got the same people that's really creating the economic opportunity and raising the standards of living to help pay for this through taxes. And I'm telling you, we ought to be mad about this. Fuming mad. However, economists generally oppose such subsidies. They often stress that the estimation of the economic impact of sports stadiums are exaggerated because they fail to recognize opportunity cost. Consumers who spend money on sporting events would likely spend the money on other forms of entertainment which has a similar economic impact. Rather than subsidizing sports stadiums, governments should finance other projects such as infrastructure or education that have the potential to increase productivity and promote economic growth. Government should finance those things me and you can't do individually. Build roads, build bridges, educate children, water plants. We know the roles of government. Finance the police force, strengthen it so it can get the crime down. Alright? I'll tell you why I'm against the stadium. That's why I'm against it right there. It takes away from other things and it doesn't address the real problems in Birmingham. Alright, here's an article by John Archibald. It is updated March 27th, posted March 27th. I'm going to try to read you most of this. I skipped around on that one. It says, Birmingham bought a stadium again. This is the history of Birmingham and stadiums. The Birmingham City Council took 6 hours Tuesday to decide to pay for a downtown stadium. This is John Archibald. If y'all read him, y'all know he's one of the great ones. I think he just got some kind of award. It says, it was ugly and frustrating. It was gripping and profane and mind-numbing. Of course it was. Because it was about a stadium in Birmingham. He says, my God, what a long, strange trip that has been. A roller coaster ride of euphoria, subterfuge, and disappointment. You want me to be excited the city council agreed to spend $3 million a year on a stadium? Come on, people. I saw them raise taxes and business license fees to pay for a dome they never built. You want me to be upset that Birmingham agreed to spend $3 million a year on a stadium? Geesh. I've seen them spend more than that on lawyers. He's dead on it. And in the end, he's for the stadium. I mean, we've got different opinions here. Or he's glad he's seen it coming. He says, perspective, people, perspective. I've been down this road too long for high emotion about a stadium. Let the UAB football team celebrate. Let the neighborhood stew and the activists rant, not me. I've seen too much anger and deceit and irony in this quest for a stadium. In other words, he's jaded. Ain't no big deal to him. He just go see what happens. It has been a full 20 years since all the movers and shakers, the Alabama Powers and the Drummonds, and everybody who was anybody in this town got together to propose the plan that was to forever change Birmingham. It was called MAPS. I spoke about that earlier. And for a 1 cent sales tax increase, it would build a dome, and a transit hub and pay for everything from light rail to an aquatic center and a high-tech library system. It was going to prepare Birmingham for the big leagues. Oh, voters in Birmingham were fine with it. With the highest turnout in years, voters in the rest of Jefferson County came to the polls and beat maps with impunity. It was defeated 57% to 43%, largely by a group of suburban residents who did not trust Birmingham. They opposed it for opposition's sake. They stood for doing nothing and called it progress, like some of those who were opposed it Tuesday. I would disagree with him on that. I'm not opposing it because I'm against progress. It's hard to say there's going to be progress in a city that's losing population and income. They got to turn that around. Now, there's a lady on Facebook. She keeps talking about the population in Birmingham has come back in the last year or two by small numbers. And you look at all the areas around us. Shelby County is booming. Shelby County is the fastest growing county and has been. It's because of their quality of life. I'm not going to say that the population hadn't come back a little bit, but we're not talking about large numbers. We're talking minuscule numbers. And relative to what everything else is going on, we're still falling behind. But up until the last 2 years, I'll give this woman credit that it may have flattened out and raised a little bit. We're in an economic boom. Huntsville's fixing to get a large increase in population because of that plant. But he said they opposed it for opposition's sake. That's not what I'm doing. I'm really concerned about Jefferson County and why people are leaving the county and why we're not competing, why we're not getting any car plants, why all the good things are going outside this county. And I know why. They stood for doing nothing and called it progress, like some of those who opposed it Tuesday. It was those Mouse opponents, the ones who looked at Birmingham politics as a spectator sport, while still expecting the city to pay for the zoo and botanical gardens and everything else, who made Larry Langford possible a few years later. I don't expect Birmingham to pay for the zoo or the botanical gardens. I don't expect Birmingham to pay for anything before getting their crime rate down. I would hate to see the zoo and botanical gardens go away. But I'd like to see a situation exist in Birmingham as it did when those come to Birmingham. And it can. Birmingham can come back, but they've got to address the problems. And it could get so bad in Birmingham that they can't finance the zoo or whatever they put in. I hadn't even studied the zoo. I haven't studied the botanical gardens. He brought it up in the article. There are places that zoos have had to shut down. So talk about Larry Langford, who made Larry Langford possible a few years later. He came to the mayor's office on a slogan of "Let's do something," and he got it. He got right to it. It wasn't long after he was sworn in that he convinced the council to double the city's business license fees and increase the sales tax by a full penny to build a $500 million dome. They doubled the sales tax fee, business license fees, and increased the sales tax by a full penny to build a $500 million dome and improve transit and grant scholarships for all students with a C average or better. The taxes were estimated to raise $72 million a year. Langford walked out of that meeting and uttered these words: "Dome, done. Scholarships, done. Transit, done. It's a good day," he said. They even had a groundbreaking ceremony for the dome, but it never happened because the money was used to bail out the city he was steering into an iceberg. The people paid the taxes but never got delivery on the dome. That's the history. This is recent history. This ain't going back 30 years. They raised the money and they didn't build the dome. But crime is the same as always been. But somehow I'm against UAB and I'm against football. I'm not against that. I know the history of Birmingham and what happened the last time. On Tuesday, the council again passed spending for a stadium over opposition from some activists who argued the money would better be spent on neighborhoods. Absolutely. Absolutely. What a strange trip. The Economist agrees that you've got to get your community productive to raise living standards. I just read you about what the economists say about stadiums. We're not talking about putting a stadium in a highly productive city that's got low crime, low poverty rate. They got everything else working good. Let's build a stadium. Fine. You're taking care of all your other business well. Build you a stadium. We're not talking about a city like that. We're talking about a city that's had trouble doing the little things. The scriptures tells us if you're not faithful in the little things, you won't be faithful in the big. On Tuesday, the second council again passed spending for a stadium over opposition from some activists who argued the money would be better spent on neighborhoods. What a strange trip. I can't help think I've seen it all. Those who were for it are against it, and those who are against it are getting old. Doing nothing, as Birmingham should know by now, does not lead to progress. Well, but what does lead to progress is jobs. Get your crime rate down. Get your sewer rates down. Bring some jobs in. Private sector is what leads progress, not government spending. Truth is, I'm glad they agreed to spend the money. This is Mr. Archibald speaking, it makes a lot more sense than Langford's stadium proposal. The city has partners in the BJCC and UMB, and it doesn't need suburban approval to get what it wants. We should have done it 20 years ago. We'd have saved 2 tax increases and a bond deal. And an ugly, frustrating, profane, a mind-numbing 20 years, not to mention that meeting Tuesday. It says John Archibald's column appears in the Birmingham News. Appears in the Birmingham News, the Huntsville Times, and the Mobile Registry, and AO.com. He just got an award. You can't have a John Archibald. Pretty. Well, he's premium now. All right, I got another article here for you. This is from Joseph Goodman. He's a writer at AO.com, and he says the new stadium cements survival of UAB football. Now, I'm going to read this article to you, and I have very little use for this article. I don't know this Mr. Goodman. I don't know Mr. Archibald. So, now I want you to understand, the stadium was sold to us as economic development. And I'm telling you why I'm against the stadium, not against UAB football. And this man here is for UAB football. I'm for UAB football. He's twisting the story. In my opinion, he's twisting the story. And I'm going to tell you why. He said, here's the truth about the return of UAB football. The program returned from the dead to die another day. Inspiring story, sure, but in the long term, the Blazers didn't have a chance without a new stadium. That's not the truth. That's not the truth. A football team's chance is in winning. And UAB is a winning team. They just need to get enough wins. You get enough wins, and you get enough crowd, and you bring in enough money, cities will be jumping up and down to have you come to their city and build a stadium. Alright? You bring in enough money, you'll build a stadium. What is UAB football? Any football team is about winning. And they're doing that. Anyone who has been to Legion Field in the last 20 years understood this or that. Alright? It says the SEC left in 1993 for Atlanta, a city with less character than a packet of ketchup. And Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, I think has 5 million people in it. The whole state of Alabama doesn't have but 5 million people. People is what makes character. I've been to Atlanta, all around Georgia. I mean, just that one sentence shows you what this particular writer is trying to say. I try to deal in facts, especially when I'm trying to make a decision about something. The SEC left in 1993 for Atlanta, a city with less character than a packet of ketchup. I mean, that's just an opinion, but he says it, and why would he run down Atlanta? Because the things that's being said in here, it doesn't hold water when you put it to the test. That one statement doesn't hold water if anybody knows anything about Atlanta and the growth that Georgia has seen in particular versus Alabama. let's talk about the, this is what I wrote. He didn't write this. I put a note on it that said, if building a stadium solves economic problems, then we need to build one in Selma, Pritchard, Adamsville. Anywhere there's economic problems, low economics, business has left, we just need to build a stadium. If building a stadium solves problems. But it doesn't. We got the economists, what they think about it. And if stadiums made a team successful, as this man is writing, that the stadium is going to make UAB. And if stadiums made a team successful, Auburn should be national champs every year, because Auburn has a great stadium. It doesn't hold water. You have to be able to read what somebody's written and judge what they're writing if you're going to make a judgment on something. Or you could just read it and laugh and go on. It's also important to know, it says the old gray lady's upper deck swayed during the Olympics back in 1996 and was later torn down in 2005. The last Iron Bowl was played at Legion Field in 1998. Alabama left the old gray lady for good in 2003. Imagine trying to sell that rust bucket to recruits. Come play at UAB, kid. Our world-renowned hospital has plenty of tetanus shots on standby. He's being a little bit sarcastic and trying to make his point. But recruits follow a winning team. That's what it takes to recruit your football players, a winning team. A team that people's looking at, that they can have a future beyond that team. Nobody's saying that Legion Field doesn't need work. And I'm not necessarily saying play at Legion Field. I'm saying they have Legion Field and they're going to keep putting money in Legion Field. But recruits don't follow stadiums. They follow winning teams. A lot of places have great stadiums. They don't get the recruiting that Alabama gets, because Alabama's a winner. Probably don't get the recruiting that UAB gets now, because UAB's a winner. Without the stadium. All right, let's talk about this Legion Field being so old, old gray lady, and falling apart. The Rose Bowl was played between Oklahoma Sooners and Georgia Bulldogs on January 1st of this year, 2018. At the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. It was the 104th Rose Bowl game. The Rose Bowl in Pasadena was built in 1921. Legion Field was built in 1927. Legion Field is 6 years newer than the Rose Bowl. And they're still playing the Rose Bowl in the Rose Bowl. But it's about the stadium. You know, that's what this article is saying. It's about the stadium. The new stadium cements survival of UAB football. No, winning will cement the survival of any football team. No, UAB was a reanimated corpse playing games at Legion Field. This has nothing to do with Legion Field. The Rose Bowl is 6 years older than Legion Field. I don't know what a Game of Thrones zombie ice dragon is. I guess that shows the difference in our generation between me and this writer. It says the leaking cavernous stadium of boiled hot dogs and baking sun was the Blazers' death sentence. Saying that Legion Field was the Blazers' death sentence. But remember, the Rose Bowl is being played in today. And the UA System Board of Trustees wasn't going to build an on-campus stadium for the team. There's probably a reason for that. Might have something to do with the campus being in Birmingham. And they wanted some flexibility. You know, UAB will be UAB no matter where they play ball. Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Tuscaloosa used to play in Birmingham. Now they play in Tuscaloosa. But they were still the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, but they played up here at Legion Field. Alright. The UA System Board of Trustees wasn't going to build an on-campus stadium for the team. Ultimately, UAB football was doomed without a new stadium. Not if they continue to win. Because winning is what makes football teams. Everything changed this week when the Birmingham City Council voted 6-3 to help fund a new downtown stadium. The stadium is being funded by the city, the county, UAB, and corporate sponsors. It took a collaborative effort. It says Birmingham saved UAB football 2 years ago, and Birmingham gave it permanent new life with this new stadium. The permanent new life will only exist if UAB continues to win. They've got to win and continue to win. And in time, they'll get them a stadium. Their own stadium, probably not Birmingham's. And it might be on some of their own property, but it may not be in Birmingham. Because Birmingham's got some things to turn around. I'm not saying that the hospital's going to leave Birmingham. But UAB could have a stadium anywhere. And I'm just saying that. I'm not even a big football fan. But they just kept pushing it and acting like everybody didn't want them to have it. Win some games. They're winning. And you'll get a stadium when you get to where you can get one. Of course, you got it this way, and this was the wrong way to get it. And I'm going to show you why. It says, we couldn't be more grateful, said Mark Ingram, UAB's Director of Athletics. We are humbled by it, and we're thankful for everyone who's involved in it. It says the stadium isn't just for UAB, obviously, but the Blazers will be the venue's first permanent tenant. UAB is signing a 20-year lease with the BJCC authority to play there. People, if Birmingham doesn't get their situation straightened out, and Jefferson County doesn't get themselves straightened out, in 20 years, our area is going to look like Montgomery. That's what we're going to look like. Huntsville's going to be the leading city in the state. Mobile's going to be second. Birmingham's going to be in the position of Montgomery or less. And that's what I don't want to see. UAB is signing a 20-year lease with the BJCC authority to play there. The Dragons' Den could be completed by the 2020 season, and it will seat between 45,000 and 55,000 fans. The design of the stadium is still being determined, and Ingram is representing UAB on the official design committee. Says the size is perfect. He says for the modern stadium trend of college football, fewer seats and more amenities. If you want people to leave the comfort of their homes and their 80-inch TVs, in other words, then it better be fun, wired for ultra-high-speed internet, and hip. Legion Field has none of those things. Says the size is perfect. And he says for the modern stadium trend of college football, fewer seats and more amenities, if you want people to leave the comfort of their homes and their 80-inch TVs, in other words, he realizes he's competing for people. Then it better be fun, wired for ultra-high-speed internet, and hip. But they got to win. And they're winning. But the cities have got to maintain it for the next 20 years too. And it's got to be hip. Hip is something that's changing. Whatever's hip today is not hip tomorrow. So if you're going to keep it hip, you're going to continue spending money on it. I could get mad about that right there, because in this article they recognize that it's going to be an ongoing something to spend money on, but it's supposed to be economic development for Birmingham. Legion Field was none of those things. Know what the Rose Bowl is? It's a field that's 6 years older than Legion Field. Do you not think the Rose Bowl has had to upgrade and put some of these things in it? People go to the Rose Bowl to watch a ball game, not to play on the internet. It's hard to see that sometimes where we live, Birmingham, it's hard to see sometimes where we live in Birmingham, sitting between Alabama and Auburn, who have two of the largest stadiums, Ingram said. And so that gets to be what's normal, because it's normal for us, for sports fans in Alabama, but it's really not the trend nationally. He's defending the smaller stadium that they're building. Alright? But he doesn't compare it to the Rose Bowl or other ones. Alright? And I put on here, I said, we're not sitting between Alabama and Auburn. He acts like Alabama's Tuscaloosa's team and Auburn is Auburn's team. Alabama and Auburn are statewide teams. There's another whole situation with that, with competing for fans. And if UAB wants to survive, UAB better become more than a Birmingham team. That's just a fact. But UAB is going to have to become a statewide team. They're probably going to have to become a regional team, or even a southeast regional team. When I was in Louisiana, I told some people out there I was from Alabama, Birmingham. This is what they said. They said, roll tide. I said, yep, roll tide. And the two men that was there, they got in a conversation about Nick Saban and Alabama football being the greatest football team that there is in Louisiana. Those two got into it, the discussion. Just like you right here at home. West Virginia, they know Alabama football. I go up there and work, I have to hear about Alabama football up there. I'm not an Alabama football fan. I'm not even a football fan, really. Tell them I'm from Alabama, and they'll get a conversation going about Alabama football in West Virginia. Well, UAB's got to create a situation like that. You can't just sit here and say Alabama's a Tuscaloosa team, Auburn's an Auburn team, and UAB's going to be a Birmingham team. I've heard that said. That ain't going to hold water for Birmingham and UAB. UAB's got to become a regional team, just like all the other ones, to survive. Again, it's not about this stadium. The stadium's not going to make it a regional team. It's going to be winning. All right, I'm getting wore out here, y'all. This is what got me about this article right here. It says, funding for the new stadium came together quickly over the last few months, but the planning stages for the project began several years ago. Ingram traveled to Kansas City in 2016 with members of the BJCC Authority to discuss the design of the stadium. UAB will soon have a shiny new stadium attached to the Uptown Entertainment District. Country music star and former UAB quarterback Sam Hunt performed at the site of the new stadium before the Blazers' first season back last year. In hindsight, we all should have gotten the hint. If the stadium design is a winner, its atmosphere could rival some Power 5 schools. That's not an exaggeration. And I don't know what a Power 5 school is. This offends me right here, this next part he put in here. Feels to me like he's laughing at Birmingham and Jefferson County. But he's laughing at Birmingham because they financed it. He said, and here's the craziest thing of all. He admits it's crazy. UAB didn't have to pay for it. When you think about it in those terms, what has happened to UAB football over the course of 4 years is mind-blowing. It's a college football team subsidized by a municipal government. Every university in the entire country should be envious of UAB today. This man, writing this article, admits that it's the craziest thing of all, Birmingham financing this stadium. And I'm just simply saying it's crazy too. It's a bad decision. And Jimmy Stevens went along with it, along with all those city council members. That one city council member, I felt so sorry for him because he was sitting there so desperate for something great and wonderful, and somebody's done sold him a bill of goods on this stadium. He's talking about getting Beyonce in here. Beyonce ain't interested in Birmingham if she can't sell the tickets at the price that she wants to sell it at. It's about the market. I'm not saying Beyonce won't come in here. I don't know nothing about her business plan, but any business plan that you put together, where it's concerts, plumbing business, septic tank business, building houses, the women's show, it's about the market that you're bringing it to. And if Birmingham don't do some work on its market and get the crime down and get the sewer rates down and get the poverty rate down, people talk about the poverty rates went down in an economic boom, and it's still higher than the national average, significantly higher. I'm not against UAB football. I'm not against UAB. That'd be stupid. I'm really concerned that Birmingham is getting into a position where it's going to be irrelevant to the state. We've been the #1 city. We're fixing to be the #2. That's going to change things for us here in Birmingham and Jefferson County. We're in the Birmingham metropolitan area. And we've had all these leaders leading us, and they've allowed us to become second in the state. All right? That's going to change some things for Birmingham. And there's a reason why, and it's right there in front of us, but their solution to it is building a stadium. UAB football is going to be a success with or without this stadium. They would, hey, a successful ball team, people will come watch them play out in the middle of a cow pasture. Now, I'm not suggesting that UAB football should be playing out in the middle of a cow pasture. But to hang their future on this stadium doesn't make sense. The man put in here, it's the craziest thing for Birmingham to finance this. That's what he says. It is the craziest thing, because Birmingham should be taking care of their crime. Y'all, I'm not against UAB, and I'm not against UAB football. But I have been against this stadium, and I'm going to be against the stadium, and I'm going to be against anything like this as your commissioner that doesn't address the real issues. I'm not looking for gimmicks to solve our problems. Jimmy Stevens signed on to this. I wanted to get our litter picked up in District 3. I want to get the illegal dump straightened out. I want to get us some litter cams. I want to see about getting the sheriff on board with getting the litter straightened out. That's going to make us visually appealing to customers. I can't go out, when I say customers, I'm talking about homeowners and business owners that may want to relocate. They're customers to me. I can't go out and ask these people to come relocate their business or relocate their homes and lives when it's visually not appealing. We got to dress up District 3 and get it looking good. And then we can go out and recruit some homeowners, change up some zoning. I don't care what kind of freedom we give somebody in zoning. Is if they ride up the road and they're looking at 5 acres there to put them a home, and there's trash all up and down the road. And I can say, well, yeah, we've lowered zoning. He said, yeah, but you didn't pick up the trash. You didn't pick up the litter. You didn't stop the illegal dumps. That's vitally important to District 3. If we're going to turn some things around. I mentioned wanting to get a emergency medical care a little closer to the furthest reaches of the county. Well, to do that, I'm going to have to look into the criteria that these hospital groups want, what they're looking for to put an emergency care facility or even a small hospital. There's some micro hospitals you can read about on the internet. But I'm not saying the county should build it. I've just got to know the criteria that they're looking for, and even the state, what they look for to allow a hospital to come in, or a small hospital, or an emergency facility. Once I find out that criteria, if it's just getting 100 more people in a particular area to move in, then we have to work at getting those people to move in. And then we can ask somebody, hey, look at us, we can sustain a hospital. But to do that, we got to get the litter cleaned up. That's what's got to be done in District 3. We've got to get our storm shelters finished. We've had way too many construction projects that's failed for no reason. And it's just like our leaders just lay down and just let it happen to us. I've done everything I can during this election to let y'all know exactly who I am. I've been 100% open with y'all. Y'all know that this suit doesn't even come natural to me. I'm doing this because I'm going to wear a suit for you. If you hire me, I'm going to wear a suit for you. But when I get out of this, making this video, I'm going to go put on some work clothes and go do a little plumbing work. And I got a little auction stuff I'm wanting to work on. I got some stuff for sale. I need to put it on the internet. And I got a little real estate deal that I need to follow up with. I'm in the real estate, I've got a real estate broker's license, an auctioneer's license. I've been in residential construction. And I've been a versatile person, but I've mainly been in construction. And I haven't hidden that from y'all. But I'm telling you, we've had too many failed construction projects in District 3. Too much has been left just to go. And this stadium deal downtown is not Birmingham's problem. The crime is. And if they don't focus on it, we're fixing to be number 2 in the state anyway, and we're probably going to fall to number 3 over the next few years. Because people's going to continue to leave. And without people, you don't have a community. You've got to have people, and you've got to have producers. I'm going to leave this video up on this politics205.com, and like I say, I'm running against Jimmy Stevens. You can email me questions at rodneywatson1972@hotmail.com for now if you have some questions you'd like for me to answer. I wish I hadn't been kicked off of Facebook. I really don't understand getting kicked off the last time. Of course, I've made a lot of people mad, and I was able to respond to you pretty quickly. And I will get back with you with some of these questions, but I don't check my email every hour. I was checking Facebook every few minutes. Facebook makes it easy to communicate with the voter. I think if I can figure out the Facebook rules, when I become your county commissioner, I'd like to have a situation where I interact with you through social media. Why our leaders do not interact on a weekly basis with voters through social media with the way it is today, I do not know. I mean, it's right there. I mean, they do work for us. They don't have to take abuse. I'm not telling them to take abuse, but they could stay in touch with us more than they are. My name's Rodney Watson. I have to beat Jimmy Stevens on the June 5th primary. I just want to make sure you understand why I'm against the stadium. I'm not against UAB or UAB football. this stadium is a bad deal for Birmingham and for us correcting some of our problems in Jefferson County, because Birmingham is the center of Jefferson County. That's our county seat. And what happens in Birmingham is important to District 3. It's going to be incredibly hard to correct anything in District 3 when our county seat is drifting away from being functional and population is moving south of town. But I'm going to do my best to get some jobs in here, and maybe in spite of what Birmingham does, we can still be functional out here, and maybe we can make West Jefferson and some of that area maybe productive on its own. I'm going to follow up with this. I have a man that has agreed to go help me at Jefferson County. I actually have two men. I have a chief of staff, and I picked him early. He's an old friend of mine. He's going to be my chief of staff if I win. But I've had a new man that's agreed to go up there and help me at the county. He's an attorney from the McCalla area. I'm not going to give you his name. If he wants to comment on this, he's welcome to introduce himself. He's an attorney from McCalla. He's got some good plans for McCalla. He's a McCalla man. I'm going to need some help down there to correct some things legally, and he's an attorney. And he's going to be very important in what I get done in Jefferson County. Like I say, he can comment on this video if he likes and introduce himself. I'm going to talk to him a little further, and then I will introduce his name. But he's going to be instrumental in getting some stuff straightened out in the McCalla area for me, because he's an attorney, and he's got something personal he wants to work on for the McCalla area, and I've done told him we'll work on that. And I need one more person to go to work for me up there if I win, and I need to find somebody from up around the Graysville up toward Bagley somewhere. What I'd like to have is I'd like to have District 3 represented inside my office from one end to the other, so that the needs of these areas stay in front of us as that office, and we can talk about it and see what we can do to help District 3 on a daily basis. Also, I want to regularly make trips out to District 3 and meet the mayors and be seen in the community. I want to be interactive every day with District 3. I want to be your commissioner, but I also want you to know it's going to be a fight every day. I think we can turn some things around if we structure the commissioner's office right and get some people in there that represents the whole district, and get the right people in place. It's going to be a job. We got a lot of work ahead of us. We didn't get in this shape overnight. We're not going to get out of it overnight. Remember me, Rodney Watson, District 3, June 5th. I got to beat Jimmy in the Republican primary. Thank you.